Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I want to share with you our homeschooling journey. Now, recently I shared a number of homeschool hauls and some of you were expressing the difficulty in having some of these more expensive Waldorf materials in your homeschool. So I thought that I would share with you our homeschooling journey because it was certainly quite a bit different back when we first started in 2003 than it is now. Now currently, and for the last almost 10 years, we have been homeschooling through a local charter school which provides funding for families so that you can buy educational materials, and this has been tremendously both fun and helpful when it comes to homeschooling. So recently we have purchased a number of Waldorf supplies that we would otherwise have only purchased one and shared throughout the family, but there are a few reasons why we have purchased multiple products, and I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. But I want to take you back to my first year of homeschooling back in 2003 when my oldest was in kindergarten, and we were just kind of figuring out what we were doing and what kind of supplies we were going to have. Now at the time I would shop on eBay a lot. I would try to find a listing that had a number of products in it so that I could save on shipping and save on the products themselves. And so at the time we would have these different bins that I actually still have today that hold our unit studies, and back then they would hold unit studies that were more kindergarten appropriate and first grade appropriate. So we had one that had rocks and magnifying glasses, and we had another one that had different kinds of ropes, and we had another one that had different kinds of the hands-on projects that came with these little books that had different little activities that you could do in them. And so at the time I purchased a lot of my things through eBay. I ordered some natural blocks through eBay, as well as my very first silk, which was a really long rainbow colored silk, which is and was very much treasured in our family because it was a number of years before we bought another set also on eBay. It was a set of 6 silks, and it was only more recently with access to school funding that we were able to purchase a number of silks by Sarah's Silks, and we got them from achildsdream.com. And those ones are a little bit different than the ones that we had in the past. They're so beautiful. They are beautifully colored, and my children and I really enjoy them. We use them for anything from dress up to fort building and any other creative play in between. Now back when we first started homeschooling, we also couldn't afford a nice set of paintbrushes or the fancy paints and watercolor paper. And so at the time I purchased the best, nicest paintbrush that I could afford, but we only purchased one. Now this proved challenging when it came time to do our watercolors, but basically what we did was I would begin the watercolor and show my son how to do it, and then I would hand him the paintbrush and then he would do this. Now this was one alternative to doing this. It's not the only thing that you could have done. For us, I chose to buy the best that we could afford, but just to buy one, whereas you might choose to buy 2 but choose a lesser quality. That way you each could have a paintbrush, or each of your children could have a paintbrush, and then you could work from there. Now you might think, well, paintbrushes are so inexpensive, what is so special about this particular paintbrush? And when you're starting a Waldorf curriculum, there are certain paintbrushes that are recommended for the grades and the sizes. They're usually a larger size, and so I was trying to be as authentic as I could at the time, and so I wanted to have those materials that were recommended. Now something else that I would shop the sales for were watercolors, watercolor paper, and drawing paper, and color pencils. Now I could get my color pencils, my drawing paper, and my watercolor paper all from local craft stores, and I would wait for sales and I would use coupons. So I got pretty good at never paying full price for those items. Now the one thing I did splurge on was the Stockmar watercolor paints, and I bought those from a local Waldorf private school. So earlier on in our homeschooling journey, I did go to the local Waldorf school and I purchased a number of items from their little shop there. That way I could see the products that I was getting and also save on shipping. Now, regardless, it's going to be expensive because Waldorf inspired material tends to be expensive, but rest assured that these things go a long way. They are really high quality materials and they are well made, and chances are you will be able to use them for your entire homeschooling journey. Now, watercolor paper is something else that can get really pricey, but I know that you can find it more affordably at local craft stores. Now, in general, you want to start with the really large papers, like 15 inches by 22 inches for the young children, and that can be super pricey. So what I would do was get the smaller paper so that my kids could have some time just experiencing watercoloring and using the different colors and just seeing the colors mixed together. And then when it was time to do our one assignment, we would work together on one large piece of paper, and I would do one and show him how to do it, and then I would hand the paintbrush over to him, and then he would have his paper, and then he would do his. We would have our one super nice project to show for at the end of that particular lesson. Something else that you can utilize is your local library, and there are a number of books that you can use, especially in the kindergarten years, and that's a great way to offset your costs. Now, the biggest cost of all, in my opinion, is the actual cost of the curriculum. Now, this is something that I agonized over a lot, and after a lot of research and a lot of thought, I did finally buy the Waldorf-inspired live education curriculum for grade 1, and it was probably one of the best decisions I could make at the time. Now, my journey didn't stop there. I was exposed to a lot of other philosophies at the time that I really loved, like the Charlotte Mason philosophy as well as the Thomas Jefferson philosophy. I really wanted to incorporate those into our homeschooling, but I was incorporating them in a way that kind of complicated our homeschool journey rather than alleviated it. So there are some things that are going to work well when you try to combine them, and there's other things that are not going to work so well. So it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years into my homeschooling journey that I attended the Live Education Waldorf Conference, and that completely transformed my homeschooling, and that was really the time where everything really came together and I had a clear understanding of what our homeschooling journey was going to start to look like. And I really appreciate that opportunity because it has been on a pretty consistent trajectory since then. Up until then, can you believe it took 5 years of kind of fumbling around? As much as I had done my research and understood the different philosophies that I liked and tried to incorporate those things into our homeschooling, I found that it really did take that one homeschooling conference to really bring it all together. And I want to say that this wasn't my only homeschooling conference. I had been attending them since 2003. Every year there was a local convention in our area, and I found those to be of tremendous value. It's where I learned about the Charlotte Mason philosophy and Thomas Jefferson education and the classical method. I learned so many things about homeschooling by going to those conventions, and they are of such value. I highly encourage you to do so if you get the opportunity to. So the things that I ended up spending money on were a few choice high quality items, my Waldorf curriculum, and any conference that I could attend. And then I had the information and the tools I needed in order to put our homeschooling together. And after that, you can get as thrifty as you want when it comes to your additional material, and you can get as crafty as you want, and you can DIY a ton of stuff if you are able to. Alright, so that is a little snippet of my homeschooling journey. I would love to hear how your homeschooling journey has evolved over the years. You can leave your comments down below, and if you want to do a video response, I would love to hear your thoughts on your homeschooling journey.